Well, good night, good night, good night, good night to all of you. It's a brand new year, a brand new month. And so I want to extend best wishes for 2026. I know that many of us have made all kinds of resolutions, but you know what? I have stopped making resolutions because sometimes I recognize that you don't keep up with those resolutions. So I don't make resolutions. But what I do is I stretch myself and I plan to do things, not holding rigidly to them, but as I go by, I do these things. And so let me say Happy New Year to all of you. Happy New Year. And you know what? Thank God we're here to see another year. It's 2026. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me how you're feeling. I am feeling all re-energized and I'm ready to go this long journey again. But before we go forward into the program, I want to thank you for always being there and advancing the cause. This year, we are going to be moving in a very different direction, and you're going to see that from the way we operate. But again, let me say, to those who would have celebrated their birthdays, happy birthday to you. I recognize that we're seeing some very little numbers, so 100. Very little numbers. And we want to say happy birthday to all those persons who would have celebrated their 100th birthday. Um, I've seen 75 years, 75th birthday. I've seen 60th. I've seen 25th. And it's a a lot of numbers that we're seeing. And I just want to extend birthday wishes to all of these persons on behalf of all of us here at advancing the cause. And just the same way we're celebrating birthdays, we want to extend the condolences to all those persons who would have lost loved ones during the period. It's pretty hard and it's very hard. Well, I mean, it's very hard to lose somebody that you love dearly. But what? This is what life is all about. Life is about us being born. And yes, we know once you're born, then you have to die. And so while it's hard, I want to encourage you to take comfort in the fact, using those pleasant memories that you have of your loved ones, and just know that God is there with you. Tonight on Advancing the Cause, we are going to be talking about, I want to warn you to beware, not be distracted, because education is in crisis. And if you don't have an educated nation, then you know what will happen. And we have seen some of this happening in our country, where some persons are quite educated, but when you see them operate, it's crazy. But again, let me welcome you to Advancing the Cause. And if you have not done so as yet, just call your friend, tell them Advancing the Cause is on. They need to log in. So tonight, in the news tonight, we're going to be sharing a couple with you the highlights. Tonight, we've seen coming from Minister Deodat Indar. He is saying that Guyana is on the verge of universal access to safe potable water. Well, I really know what the minister talking about, because just the same way the minister said it, I saw persons saying, well, in leg one, the water is unfit for even pigs to drink it. In Fowls, brown water. Herstelling, new scheme. Brown water, no water for many days. Denamstel, West Rumvelt, South Rumvelt, Tocqueville, Mahaika. In Mahaika, the folks there are saying, well, in Mahaika, you could get white clothes. White clothes gets discolored for free. You don't have to pay for that. Free if you want to have a brown or a blue brown or a green and brown. Look, just use some of the water that coming from your taps. And so I really don't know what Minister Indar is talking about. And he went on to say, between 2020 and 2025, they've had new wells being dug through the treatment plant that they set up, and all the monies that they have invested. Well, when you talk about monies being invested and you're not having service for monies, then we wonder sometimes whether some of those monies went to Miami, Florida, to pay down on some of the properties there, or whether they paid on some of the $200 million homes that some of our ministers' children are having. I don't know, but it leaves one to wonder. And then as we go through the news again, we're seeing roads. We've been talking about this all the time. Roads being constructed, and in less than 6 months, less than a year, we want to know what is happening with these roads. And we've seen residents complaining all the time about the kinds of craziness that is happening. Lots and lots of monies, lots and big, 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 big contracts are
This
awarded,
is
but you don't get worth for monies. You don't get worth. You see, this is what I'm talking about. This road was constructed in less than 1 year, and this is what we're seeing happening there. And so when drivers have to move around, then they have to go to the other side of the road as long as it's clear. You see what's happening there? I don't know where is Minister Edgil, because in their move, so Edgil. I don't know what's gonna be happening here, boy. But you got a lot of things to do, a lot of things to do. I mean, when the PPP took over from the PNC back then, we got roads, and some of them are still standing up to now. But you know what? You got your friends to bring all those huge trucks, and that is what started to break up some of those highways. Parika, Vredenhoek to Parika, New Amsterdam to Coretta, from Soesdijk all up the Linden Highway. All those were roads that were built under the PNC, and they stood past their lifetime. And these roads, I don't know if it's forest ripe roads, because somebody saying must be forest. These roads got to be forest ripe roads. And then as we go on, we hear here now that the the government of Guyana is having talks about bringing third class citizens, third country citizens into our country. And these are the folks who are going to be deported from the US. So the US, they're going to be sending to the Caribbean and the Guyana citizens from other countries. I don't know. I don't know where we're heading, because we already have our own confusion right here. We already got the Venezuelans creating havoc in our country. This, that, all kinds of craziness. And if you're going to send other persons here who have criminal records, then we have got to be concerned about it. I don't know what kind of talks the president is having, but sometimes we can't trust anything that comes out of the mouth of the president. Sorry, but it's a fact. I remind you of what transpired during the Argyle Agreement, when the president said he wasn't going to be talking anything about this whole issue with our territorial controversy. But yet an agreement was signed. So I don't know. I don't know. But as we go on, we're seeing staff meetings here, staff meetings there, Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Social Protection, Ministry of Public Works, Ministry of Local Government, all these staff meetings we having, but yet confusion in the system, yet the system not working right. The water system not right. We got utilities minister, we got housing minister, confusion there. We got local government minister, confusion there. Two ministers we have there, confusion there. We got Ministry of Labor. Well, don't talk about labor. Labor ain't laboring at all. Apparently, Hamilton left some scorch he left there. So labor ain't laboring at all, because Guyanese citizens are continuously being treated very, very badly by these foreign companies. So I'm wondering, where is the Minister of Labor and what is he doing about it? But we're going to talk about that at another time. And finally we had the opening of the Bamia Primary School. Lots of fanfare. How many contractors? How long did it take? I guess that we usually have a baby would take 9 months. Elephant is 22 months, wherever it is, I don't know. But this Bamia Primary School went almost 7 years. So I don't know. They should have they should have a doctorate by now, the contractors there. Then they have to add 2 other contractors to ensure that it's finished. But in all the rush to complete it, this schoolyard is still not properly done. Still not properly fixed. Outside of the school, beyond the fence, it's still not properly fixed. But we'll wait to see, as the dust settles, we'll wait to see whether there are going to be cracks in the walls and all kinds of things. But, when we hear about these state-of-the-art schools, we would want to think that these state of the art schools where you're spending so much monies that you're going to have enclosed classrooms with whiteboard, with a projector, with lockers so that the learners could pack their bags and so on in there. These kinds of things we expect to see a classroom that is AC'd and so on. At Bamia Primary School there, I know dust can kill the children down there. But let's wait, we'll see what will happen. But we're happy that the school has finally been able to open its doors, and our children can now be sitting in a place of comfort somewhat. And we look forward to having more updates coming from that school. Well, we had the movie style operation where President Maduro, the big bad man who was trying to bully us in Guyana, well, another big brother came, or a bigger bully came, and bullied him out of his country. So we saw that movie style operation there, and we're waiting to see what is going to happen, because that there will have an effect, a direct effect on everything else that happens within the Caribbean belt. Everything. And so Guyana will be one of the countries that is going to be affected by this whole move. And so we've got to be alert and ensure we pay attention to what is happening there. And then President Ali says again that he is reaffirming Guyana's commitment, reaffirming Guyana's commitment to democracy. I don't know what democracy this president talking about, because if you're going to talk about democracy, you're talking about democracy because what, this word, or you want to impress somebody. Because if you're talking about democracy, what we see happening in our country is far from being democratic. Just imagine, in 2024, a judge ruled that the government was absolutely wrong to withdraw the GTU's dues with immediate effect. The judge ruled that the government was high-handed in its approach. The judge ruled that the government had an obligation to speak to the union and to engage them, reference better conditions of work and salary increases. And they have not yet honored that. They appealed, and in the appeals court, they lost. And up as we speak, the government, they have not reinstated the deduction of the dues. They've not done anything. And you know what? They are keeping, they want to keep the union at bay. And then the president talking about democracy. Mr. President, wake up. Wake up from your sleep. Wake up from your sleep. Because I don't know what democracy you're talking about. But tonight we're going to talk a lot about what's happening in this country. I saw Minister Zulfikar distributing monies in Regions 5, the farmers who were affected by flooding. I hope he's going to be doing the same thing in Region 6. And while he's in Region 6, I'm hoping that he's going to touch communities like Manchester, Alness, Liverpool, Ulverston, Hochstyle, Firish, and so on, Gibraltar, those areas, that he's going to be touching those areas too, because we have farmers there who are affected. Farmers lost their livestock, they lost crops. But you know what? The PPP, they have a pattern where they only go to their supporters' areas where their supporters are living. They go there and they offer the kind of financial assistance, and that cannot be democracy. Mr. President, if you don't understand the meaning of the word democracy, don't talk about it. But tonight we're going to talk about education as in crisis, and we're not going to be fooled with all the fancy foolishness that we're seeing there. Education is in crisis, and to help us discuss this whole business and bring you the highlights are two wonderful persons that I am having on the program this evening. And let me tell you what, I've learned quite a lot from them. They are the real educators. Not some who jumping around the place, people who never faced an interviewing panel, people who never had to apply for position, but positions were just trusted upon them and they can't function. No, these are two real educators, two educators who went to real universities, and they did not only attend the university to allow their names to be marked present. They did the work, they submitted their assignments, they did the tests, the exams, and so on, and they passed with flying colors. So these are real educators that we're having on the program tonight. Operator, would you help me to bring our two guests on as we welcome them? We have Comrade Cheryl Sampson and Comrade Dennis Jaikaran. Good night to both of you and welcome to Advancing the Cause. Tonight we are going to be talking about don't be distracted, don't be fooled, please be aware, education is in crisis. The old saying says ladies first. So Comrade Sampson, I want to offer you the opportunity to say to our guests, you're looking all pretty. One of our viewers is saying she's looking so pretty. Just say to our viewers there, who is Cheryl Sampson?
Thank you, Coretta. Good evening to the panel and to all your viewers. Cheryl Sampson is a humble young lady. My emphasis on young. I am from the west coast of Demerara, the village of Iflat, where some people say there is a university. No comment. According to your advertisement, you have me as the former chairperson of the National Congress of Women. Yes, I did serve there for a number of years. But when anybody asks me who I am really, I say I am an educator. I was a teacher. I started at the primary school. I went to the community high school. And then I went back to the primary school where I retired as grade one. No, what is it? I've come out of teaching so long I don't even remember. But I graduated from a grade A school as the head teacher. And then I went on to back in education, we had a program called the Guyana Service Distance Education Program, which that one was to upgrade untrained teachers, bring them up to the level so they can qualify to get into Teachers Training College. After doing guide for a number of years, I ended up at the Teachers Training College, and I was the head of center for the Georgetown Center. Subsequently, I went back to education in another capacity. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm an educator, and one who I would say I'm very, very concerned with what is happening in education. I will talk more about that.
Thank you so much. So once a teacher, always a teacher. And we look forward to hearing from you. Comrade Jaikaran, I know these programs are not strange to you, and you're not a stranger to Advancing the Cause, but we would still want to hear who is Dennis Jaikaran.
Good night, Comrade Coretta. Good night, my friend, Comrade Sampson. Good night, viewers. Dennis Jaikaran, by profession, is a teacher. And to be brief, I was a district education officer at one time, a regional education officer. But before I come off of that, I just wanted to be known, because I think we are speaking to some people who would need to understand clearly the persons who are on this program and where they came from. I was among the first batch of cadets in this country, the first cadet course offered by the Ministry of Education. But Coretta McDonald, I would be happy if you can give me later on the program to say briefly where that cadet course came from and how it is now being watered down into nothingness. So I was there as a cadet, and then I was a part-time lecturer at CPC, SKO branch. I was principal of two technical institutes, the Essequibo Technical Institute and the Linden Technical Institute. I was coordinator of the Guyana School of Agriculture, Essequibo branch, and I was regional
Mhm.
executive officer, Region 3 and Region 2. To
Good.
add to that,
Mhm.
I was involved in a number of projects and programs in the Ministry of Education, to which I would speak about later on, meaning the Community High School Program,
Mhm.
the Secondary School Reform Program,
Mhm.
and the Guyana Education Access Program, GEAP. So these are some of the
Mhm.
things later on in the program that I would wish to bring to the attention of our viewers so that they know exactly not Dennis Jaikaran, but the topic we are speaking to, the latter part of the topic which says education in crisis. So briefly, that is Dennis Jaikaran.
Well, Comrade Chakaran and Comrade Sampson, thank you so much for your brief introduction. But while you were speaking there, Comrade Chakaran, I am sure some of our viewers, they don't know anything um,
Mhm.
that Comrade Sampson spoke about the in-service program. You're talking about the these some of these programs. They don't know anything about it, and you're talking about watering down of programs. We know the PPP. They don't like anything good. We know them, and so when you talk about watering down of anything, all you would see flashing in front of you, PPPC. That's all you would see flashing in front of you. They don't know about standard. All they know about substandard. Well, if you talk corruption, they know that one good. So that's what the C stands for anyhow, corruption. But let's go a little more into this. We have seen, and I'm going to start off from this point. We've seen just recently a really, really in depth interview coming from somebody at some teacher or might have been some parent who has been furnished with the information. But it more sounds like a teacher complaining about what is happening at BV Secondary School. And you and I would know that for a teacher to complain like this, it could not have been happening yesterday, could not have been the day before, could not have been last week. This has been a sore that nobody paid attention to. And so this sore has now taken over the one leg. It's catching on, it probably caught on to the other one, it's catching on to the hands. And so it's the entire institution that is in shambles now. Now, and this, of course, is not, and you would know that this is not linked to this one institution. It's the entire country we are seeing this kind of revelation in. But it had to have started from somewhere. I'm not sure who will take the lead. But let's talk about what is happening there with our CSEC children, their SBAs, they're being forced to put false grades. Let's talk about that.
Correct. If I may start, Dennis, just give me a chance. You are talking about BV Secondary School, but whatever is happening there is happening in a number of other schools in the country. I did not even realize that BV is now a full secondary school. I have known BV as BV Community High School, and there was a reason why you had the primary school and you had the community high school and you had full secondary schools. And I'm sure Dennis will talk about that when I'm finished saying a few things. When the community high school was instituted and when it started, it was a case of looking after the slow learners, if I remember clearly, those who lagged behind a little. Because at the primary school, you did your SSP, I think it was, and
SSE.
then Yeah, you had that exam. You also had the common entrance where they call
They
NGSA
come.
now. So when
Mm-hmm.
you did that NGSA exam and you didn't pass to go to a secondary school, you went on to either the upper level of the primary or to a community high school.
Mm-hmm.
At the community high school, you had two things happening. You had academic and then you had a technical section. The community high school was really to build the skills of the slow learners. And what happened is that you did that and you still did the academics. And when they did an exam, according to how they performed, you moved them into either the technical institute or GITC or one of those to upgrade their skills, or you brought them right back into the formal secondary school. And that is how the children were able to sort of pick up their pace and move on. So although you didn't pass the NGSA at that level, you were able at some point to get into technical institute and do something else. Dennis, am I right? You can take up from there.
Yes, correct.
Oh,
Absolutely.
so
Let me
but
just let
Comrade
me
Dennis,
just begin by saying that
before
yes,
you go there,
yes,
Comrade
Mama
Dennis,
Coretta.
before you go there, I want us to talk about let's talk a little bit from the primary school, because what we are seeing here, I remember my days at primary school. We had music, we had poetry, we had art, we did composition, we had grammar, we had mental, but there's an absence of that now. Am I to understand that it's because of those rash changes that we've been making, hence the problems that we're having now? Could we start off from the primary school and then we'll take it up
All
there?
right. But let me start from the point of 1966. Colonial education was meant to really colonize persons
Mhm.
because the pattern of education then would have allowed for training, specific training to train people who would want to be clerks and what have you.
Mhm.
Nothing as it relates to the technical education. And that curriculum then would have been restricted to certain things. And so I come to the point of in the primary schools, that program was set out not only for the core subjects, but would have added dictation, mental, physical
Mhm.
education, art and craft, all these kinds of things. And so there was a takeoff of these things because when you would have gone to the national grade six, then referred to as common entrance, you are restricted, so to
The fourth
speak,
one.
to maths, English, science, and social studies. But recall that there was a time when those pupils who wrote that national grade six, then common entrance, there was a component, a technical component that they were assessed in agricultural science.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so that started an education in the technical area. So whether you go after national grade six common entrance to a general secondary school, a senior secondary school, or then a community high school, your level of preparedness would have been there. But we need to come back to that decision that Sheikh Baksh made when he was a faulty minister of education, followed by Priya Manik Chan. No child left behind. In education, there's a concept in psychology that says level of readiness for each stage of learning.
Mhm.
So if you are not in readiness to move to that next stage and you are given that opportunity, you are really suffering The system is suffering those children. And those children that are being suffered would add to that level of let me have a coin war, the sufferation of the other children who would need to move on. So the system was geared to fail, and it is continuing to fail our learners. And so what is happening? When they get into the general secondary school, they are now being trained for SBAs and for passing subjects at CSEC. It is not preparing the children, the students, so to speak, for the world of work or for a skill set that would take them through. On the other hand, when there was this community high school and it was set up in such a way, and some of us forget, why is it community high schools were set up in this country? It was to take care of equality of access, of quality education to all across the board. And so what is happening? They have gotten rid of the community high school because the community high school provided that opportunity for our learners to have a particular skill set. So even you were not in that general stream of things, you were able to have that skill set to move on to higher technical education. And Comrade Samson, you were right, because some of them went to GTIG and so. But there was one concept, and they got rid of that too. When you had written SSP Part 2 in agricultural science, you were able to go to the Guyana School of Agriculture, or in those days, many persons from the coastland who did not go to Guyana School of Agriculture, they went to the Burnham Agricultural Institute at Arakaka in Region 1.
Mm-hmm.
And so you provided technical education. And those schools that Coretta McDonald made mention of, the primary schools with tops in those days, you had an industrial arts program that taught you metal work, woodwork, technical drawing. And it was to that level that could have afforded you the opportunity to again move on to other technical schools, or you go into organized workshops and then you branch off on your own. So basically, from the primary schools, but Coretta McDonald made mention of what is happening at BV Secondary School. I happened to have a look at that letter. And what I read, I thought it fit that I should consult, because I have in every region of this country persons who I speak with on a daily basis as it relates to education, health, and the management of the regional system. And so teachers are concerned, and they were happy. And those teachers who made mention of, or the teacher who made mention of all those things that are happening there, it is not BV Secondary School alone. It is across this country. But a teacher would have had what it took that teacher, the professional person that teacher would have been, to say these things. And other teachers are now joining in. For example, we made mention of No Child Left Behind. And so these teachers are talking at the secondary school at grade 7 of children not being able to write and read. And so you have 4 or 5 years to prepare them for CSEC. What do you want our teachers to do? To do miracles with those children? How fair is it to our teachers? And when our teachers speak out about these things, the Ministry of Education, as mentioned in that letter, would want to do minor audits to find out, or audits to find out minor things from our teachers. You are auditing our teachers. You are investigating our teachers because of them being bold to speak on issues. So these are things you are talking about them. These things, if you ask our teachers, school reopened for this term, the second term of this academic year, which is Easter term. On Monday, today concluded 3 days. Ask our teachers how many of our school buildings were in readiness on day 1. Ask our teachers how many school compounds were in readiness on day 1. Ask our teachers about the physical environment, the utility service, lights, water. Ask them about these things. Ask our teachers about those 10-day-a-month workers, how they flood the schools and they sit idly by doing nothing. And our teachers have to pay attention. By the way, I am going to make mention of a school in Region 2 just now, where one of these 10-day workers, supported by their teacher, insulted, they played the tape for me, insulted our teacher because the teacher made mention of something about the child, wanted to fight that teacher and the headmistress of that school, who was administratively appointed. Give credit to the 10-day-a-month worker who was absolutely wrong in the situation. When the matter reached to the Department of Education, the Redo supported the head teacher and the 10-day worker. So I'm putting all these things as it relates to what happened at BV Secondary. And I want to commend the teacher or the teachers. But I know what is coming down based on what is happening in this system. That teacher or those teachers would have to be prepared for an investigation and maybe harassment and discrimination. But I want to appeal to all our teachers in this country. Whatever caused you to withdraw your services, to withdraw your payments, despite the fact the Ministry of Education is doing what it wants to do, you have a duty. You are bound by your commitment as a professional person to be part of a trade union, which your trade union is the Guyana Teachers Union, to ensure that you are properly represented. And on this program tonight, I am calling out, I'm not saying it, calling out our teachers to stand together. Do not be afraid to speak. Say what you have to say. Be respectful and do it in a professional way. So I want to wrap up this part Comrade McDonald and Comrade Sampson, as it relates to starting from colonialism, as it relates to what education was all about when they train people up to this point where we are in a very confused situation.
So, Comrade Jaikaran, thank you for that. I'm sure you brought some bit of semblance to the minds of our viewers. But I really want to get to this point where Comrade, I think it's Comrade Sampson who spoke about the primary schools, and if you couldn't, like we would say, quote unquote, mambo in the at the primary level to get to the regular secondary school, that there was a provision made for you, which was the community high school, which catered for students who weren't there academically, but they were able to teach them life skills. So when you left the school, you were a man or you were a woman, and you were able to continue your daily life. And for those who were able to pick up, they wrote the SSP and they went off into secondary schools. Now, I don't know what caused the shift and the complete, well, I shouldn't say I don't know. What I should be saying is the PPP, anything that is good, they don't like it. And so, more so, anything that reminds them of Lyndon Forbes, Sampson Burnham, they try to get rid of it. Now, in Lyndon Forbes, Sampson Burnham was a visionary man. And in his wisdom, he knew that all of us, if you look at our hands, all of our fingers are not equal. And so in that sense, he recognized that all of our children will not be able to develop at the same pace. But you know what the PPP did? They decided all of our schools, we are making them secondary schools. So whether the children could write, they could read, they could recognize letters, wherever, all of them, you're flooding in the secondary schools. And who are the sacrificial lambs? The teachers are the ones who are left to be blamed. We're going to put the parents, we're going to bring the parents in at a point. But the education sector was placed for our children and to move them from one point to another point to another point. And that is why we have nursery schools, year 1 and year 2. Then they go into the primary schools. Back then we call them Prep A, Prep B, Standard 1 to Standard 4. And then you move on to Forms 1 to Form 5. And then you do upper levels. Now, I don't know why the PPP always believe that they must be like monkeys. You know, they say monkey see, monkey do. We always want to implement things here and we don't have the provisions for it. Check the issues that we're having in our schools. Operator, could you show us, let's have a look at those videos and then we'll zero in on what we want to really talk about. But we don't have the provisions. In North America of itself, they have several counselors in our schools, and yet
what is my father? What is father? Lord Mary Mary.
we're having these kinds of dramas in our schools every single day. Mind you, viewers, I'm not saying that they never happened before, but the level at which our children are at and the way they perform now, I'm sure Comrade Sampson and Comrade Jaikaran, you would be able to tell us. A couple of years ago, everybody was uncle this, auntie this, cousin so, good morning, good afternoon, excuse me, please, thank you. What do we have in our society now? The children button you down anywhere they see you. They don't care what they say in the presence of seniors or adults or anybody. And so this here It's because of education in crisis. Back then, you could remember any adult could scold a child. Now, huh, what is responsible for that? Do we say that the prison system is responsible for that? Can we say that the health system is responsible for that? Can we say that the police force is responsible? No, education is responsible for that. And if we don't have the people there to fit in the proper places, we will always have these kinds of things happening. When you have square pegs in round holes, what you expect to happen? It can't fit, so confusion. And that's what we're having filtering down into our schools. Now, we got No Child Left Behind. My two guests, you are going to help me here too. We got No Child Left Behind, plus we got No Teachers Left Behind.
Oh boy.
But we have all these glorious talks and the big fanfare. I remember somewhere in what, 2020, 2021, something, we had 3,000 plus teachers we heard graduating from CPC. Well, you and I know that story well, and we'll have to talk about it. Big fanfare, largest number of teachers graduating ever. How many we got graduating in the hinterland? But are these teachers fully furnished with the kinds of skills to mambo in the classrooms? We got schools, big fanfare, all these state-of-the-art schools. And what do we have? 2 mornings after, cracks in the walls, cracks here. They are not furnished they're not fully furnished to be able to deliver what is supposed to be delivered to our children. Who do we blame for that? The parents? We can't blame the parents all the time. We have to blame the government. I remember before 2015, we were having very, very poor grades at math and English at CSEC. Under the coalition, several systems were put in place. And you know what? Our grades at math and English went up. As soon as the coalition left office, like a balloon, all the air went out. We got right back to square one. So what is responsible for that? And we have to put the blame at the feet of the government, at the feet of the PPP. See, poor management, they don't know. But let's talk about what we started off with. No child left behind, no teacher left behind.
If I may say, in terms of, I won't touch on No Child Left Behind. Let me talk about No Teacher Left Behind.
Go ahead, conversations.
Yes, No Teacher Left Behind. You spoke about the Minister Bash. When he was education minister, at that time, I was at the Teachers Training College as head of center. And I remember they took the decision to bring to college all the teachers who were untrained in the system. When they came, it is something I see all the time. Oh, beautiful Guyana. The first day I had one of my tutors teaching English in the early childhood group. That's the nursery education group. And before she started out, she decided to do a diagnostic test. You're talking about grammar, noun, subject and verb, and the others. And at about 11 o'clock one night, she called me. My phone rang. And I said, why are you waking me up? She said, I come home and I said, let me mark these papers. But let me tell you, I'm bringing them and put it back on your desk. And I ain't teaching that class. When we got to college that afternoon, and I looked at the test papers, it was alarming. I said, what is this? I didn't know the students because they were first years and they had just come in. And so I had to go to the files to see the pictures and match them with the names. And I went to the class. I shared out the papers. I told them, take 10 minutes, look at your paper, and tell me what you think of the marks. They couldn't answer, but I had decided that there were certain people I had already identified by their photographs. And so I said, you come to the office. These were people who had not out of 50, 2 out of
Jesus.
50, 7 out of 50. And I'm saying, what kind of coincidence is this? And when they came, I got them one by one. One of them who had not out of 50. When she came to my desk, she burst into crying. So I said, why are you crying? She said, Miss, this reading thing is not me. Now, these teachers had the idea that because they're teaching nursery school, it has to be DOG dog, CAT cat, and that sort of story. These teachers had no idea how you could do a sentence, subject and verb must correspond. And I'm saying, what the devil is this? Now they came. That particular one I talk about took about 7 or 8 years before we let her go. Instead of spending 3 years, she had to repeat, and you had to do it in such a way that, look, you do 2 subjects this term, and we can do the other 2 next term, and this sort of thing, so as to get her over the hurdles.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So you had that. But now you got the teachers who are online because nothing is happening face to face apart from the
Mm-hmm,
hinterland students.
mm-hmm.
And the teachers are not logging on, or sometimes they log on and go about their business. So they're not really participating. I was in a taxi one day with a tutor at the Sir Potter College of Education, and she got a call. When she saw who it was, she put her finger over her mouth and said to me, don't say anything. And she put it on speaker. From the people at CPC, they were calling her to say, you have a student named Coretta McDonald in your class. She said, that name I don't know. I have never seen her or heard of her. She said, yes, she's enrolled and she's supposed to be graduating. This is coming on to graduation time. And she has to get marks for subject A, which you teach. So she said, but how I gonna give her marks and I don't know the person? She's not been in my class. She was told she has to give them marks
Wow.
to pass the exam. She said, well, I'm gonna give them the minimum marks, 45. She said, no, ma'am, you got to give her 85.
What?
Now this tutor is giving 85% to somebody who should never seen her class. And that is what we have. When Coretta, when you had the teachers out on that strike, the Ministry of Education employed people who had applied. I have a little cousin who, when I saw her, I said, what are you doing now? You finished. She went to Carnegie. After CXC, she went to Carnegie because she liked cooking. She said, cousin Cheryl, I'm teaching in a secondary school. But the only thing I can't understand, I now come on to teach. I went to training college and they put me to teach 4th and 5th forms.
Oh gosh.
She's teaching 4th and 5th forms home economics to go to exam. She can barely, she knows the theory and the practical because she passed. But to explain to these children, she can't do it. And that is what we have in the system. So when
Mercy.
you got teachers doing that, what are they passing down to the children? In the primary school a long time ago, you had something called remedial education,
Mhm. Mhm.
where you had a remedial class to make certain that the children knew how to read and write. I know right now at IFLAT Primary School, the children who are supposed to be doing NGSA in a few months, they got some of them could barely write. But nobody is paying attention to helping these children. They can't read. So if they can't read, how are they going to do the analyze what's the question and do the different things? And that is what we have in the system. And if they don't do something about it, we got to stop talking about quantity. We got to talk about quality. That is what we need.
Mhm. Mhm.
Guyana had a literacy rate high above the Caribbean. What we
Yep.
got now? What do we
Mhm.
have now? People who can't read and write. Okay?
Mhm.
When we had things like places like the Youth Corps and National Service, they took you there and they sort of curb you. You got to understand this is what we do, this is the rules. They give you classes, they teach you skills. And when you come out there, you're somebody. I remember
Mhm.
many years ago when I did my international service when I was university. I met a young pioneer, and one morning he had some pawpaw, a nice pawpaw in his hand. So where you get that from? And he said, "Oh, we got pawpaw trees all around. You like pawpaw? And I will get you one." Years after, I didn't see this boy. One day, I'm walking in Water Street, and he came up to me and he said, "Coretta Sampson." I said, "Anybody who calls me that was in national service with me." And he said, "I am the person who used to give you the pawpaw." I said, "Where are you now?" He had just graduated from a university in Toronto in agricultural mechanic. He said, as he was at the international service, and because they used to send him to do agriculture and so on, when he left national service, he went to Guyana School of Agriculture. And his parents migrated and he went. And he decided that he'd go into agricultural engineering and qualified himself and got um, his degree. But if you had seen him in the days when he was a pioneer, he was a radical. He said he used to be so bad his mother sent him there so that they could teach him something. Lord help us now. I'm going to stop there.
Well, I'm hoping that our viewers are really digesting what you were saying, because we have to stop hiding our faces in the sand and accept that this system is all mixed up and it's going downhill. This
That's right.
sector is going downhill and we have to accept that. But rather than accepting that, we have these who call themselves quote unquote lords and gods, who feel that they can come out there and they can spew all kinds of foolishness in the ears of people. And you tell parents, "Oh, we're giving you $50,000 cash grant for your children, grants for your children. We're giving you this, we're giving you that." Let's look at what happens when school is dismissed. We got the children lining at the bus park. Early in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, late at nights. During the
Mm-hmm.
day, you see them there waiting for special buses. We see them doubling up in buses. What did we have before? We had the Tata buses and the Kayo where you had contracts. And those were the buses that took you to and from school. During the David Granger time, we had the David G buses. We had the boats, which assisted parents greatly in getting their children to and from school safely. You hadn't to double up in buses. You hadn't to sit on the laps of any male or any conductor or any other male person or any other female. But what are we having now? A whole lot of lawlessness in the country. And what is the Ministry of Education doing about it? Absolutely nothing. All they know, some of them know they dress up with shirt, jack and sandals, and they walk up and down the place with some diary in their hand, and they feel that they could make all kinds of pronouncements. When they're not doing that, they dress up with suit and tie. When they dress up with suit and tie, they dress up with all kind of fancy clothes, and they feel that fancy speeches is what is going to take us through this life. While many, 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 many are suffering, teenage pregnancies increasing every day, crime increasing every day. And what are we going to do? Are we going to use the police to shoot them down? Are we going to lock them behind bars? We've got to change the system. And to change the system, it got to start from the education sector. That's the only way we can change it. In schools before now, we had needlework. You remember that?
Of course.
We had music and singing. You remember that?
Of
Huh?
course. But all of those
We,
things are off the curriculum.
we had Bible club. All of those taught our children how to be disciplined, how to be self-sufficient, how to gain the skill of and be a team worker. Uh, what do we have now? Lawlessness. We just saw the other day coming out of the Christmas party. What transpired at a particular school with the children having dry sex in school at the Christmas party. Where are we? When are we going to stop? When and then you hear the minister put out big fancy statement out there. Fancy statement doesn't change behavior. Got to be practiced. You got to put it in the school system.
Guidance and counseling was on the timetable. Every teacher in a school was a guidance and counseling teacher. You looked after the children in your class. What the children will tell you, they wouldn't tell the parents. And you were, in those days, teachers were, look,
Mhm, mhm,
uh,
mhm.
uh,
And you know, Miss
I'm
Sampson,
getting worked.
I hear you talk about the teacher and the lecturer being give a phone call being made and told, and that is not in isolation. It
No,
happens
because
all the time. I
uh,
remember the
mhm,
lecturers at CPC when they complained to the then Minister Priya Manikchan and said, "Look, because of COVID and this, that." We cannot do this, we cannot do that, we can't have the graduation and so on. She said, make it happen
mhm.
by
Qual-
whatever means, make it happen. And
quantity, not
so,
quality.
teachers who were not in classes, teachers who missed half of the entire program, they were graduated. They got
And
false grades. They graduated with credit and distinction. You remember that year when we had our
yes,
whole, I mean,
mhm,
our viewers must understand that we are not bashing teachers. We are bashing the system.
the
The
system, because they
Yeah,
were
system is
told
falsifying.
you have
yeah,
to do it.
yeah.
Where do we go? How do we restart? How do we press this restart button to start again? Mr. Jaikaran, I don't know. You probably could tell us how do we press that restart
Yeah.
button and where do we start from?
Let me make a few points. One, yeah, yeah. Let me make a few points. When Comrade Sampson was talking about nationalism, I turned into my library and I have a paper here which says State Paper on National Service,
Mhm.
as presented in the Parliament by the then Lyndon Forbes Sampson board.
Oh,
This
don't call the names.
state
Some people must
paper,
be trembling right
I could
now.
make it available. I am a proud product of the Ghana National
National
Service.
service.
I am an advocate for the reintroduction, with whatever changes it might be, for the Guyana National Service and the Youth Code.
Mhm.
Having said that, I want to come back to those clips that we saw early on and to make a few points. One, Comrade Sampson made mention of guidance and counseling as part of
The
the
curriculum.
curriculum, and where individual teachers at primary and secondary school would have had an opportunity to interact with their learners was right when she said that what they said to you so what they say to you, they wouldn't say to the parents. That is a default in the education system. The quality of teachers that we have, and you said, Coretta McDonald, we are not bashing our teachers. We are bashing our system that cause our teachers not to be adequately equipped to go into the classroom while they have that desire to become a classroom teacher. And so CPC is failing our teachers. Not only the quality of lecturers that are there, but the quality of intake. Can you imagine this year, this intake, that it was an open door policy? Come and we receive you and we train you. That training is also watered down. Whether you are in service, I did pre-service living in at CPC, and whether you did that or in service, you had to do home economics, needlecraft, music, physical education, all these other things. I can't remember them. Apart from those core areas, are our teachers doing these things? I want to make that link to show that in the absence of us not providing that opportunity to our learners, exciting their learning and that process of interaction, you are going to cause them to have an idle mind, resulting from what we saw in those clips. Next point, no child left behind. That is a dangerous policy. You are promoting persons, allow them to go to another stage they are not prepared for. I made the point before. And you are suffering them, and you are causing them to be further eliminated from going to the next stage. But when we come back to teacher training, are we having the right set of persons? Myself, Coretta McDonald, you, Coretta Sampson, check who were our principals in those days, our deputy principals, our senior lecturers, our lecturers. Those were persons you could have looked up to. Our teachers, as they interact with the lecturers, our in-service and our pre-service, there is no match to that, and that is also responsible for what is happening in the classrooms. Schools welfare officers. I said many times on this program, they are a waste of time. I repeat it tonight. Long ago, when a person is supposed to be a school's welfare officer, the substantive position in a school to move off to that particular training, specialized training to become a school's welfare officer, that training was provided by Central Ministry of Education. Your position had to be peace, a senior master mistress. Who are our school's welfare officer now? They are never classroom teachers. They are not trained. In some regions, like in Region 2, all the school welfare officer and the whole Department of Education, sorry to come off that, they are all involved in contract and catering and whatever. And they are encouraged, some of the head teachers, School reopened 3 days ago. Some head teachers have not yet reported. I'm making this public. Let the world know. Some head teachers in Region 2 have not yet reported for duty, and there is a cover up by the regional education officer. But let me come back to violence in school. The system is not prepared to take a hand to curb violence in school. And there is a standoff on one hand when these things happen, and then there is an encouragement on the part of the
On the
student
other hand.
to cause it to go. These are things that are really and truly destroying this education system. You know, Comrade McDonald and Comrade Sampson in Region 2. And I want to congratulate that person. I don't want to call name. She was heading CPC. And with the help of the regional education officer, she was kicked out of that position.
I know the teacher. I know the teacher.
Thank God that teacher is a graduate and she's now joining you, my sister, as a member of the National Assembly.
Beverly.
As a member of the National Assembly. So I make those points to show, starting from National Service that Comrade Sampson made, coming on to schools welfare officer not properly. None of them were in the classroom. So it is difficult. The next point and the last one is work-study attachment. Work-study attachment. You do not have that. If you have it, and I think it might be, it is not meaningful because the briefing and debriefing, those things are not there. They change up what is known as science fair into one set of STEAM, STEM, and what have you, defeating the purpose. Career fair, they change it up into one sort of different kinds of thing. So you do not see that link between career fair, where these agencies would come, and when they would have concluded their attachment at work study and their interests, and based on the subjects they would have written at CSEC. So these are all disconnect principles that are not given credence, not only to our learners, but to our parents and the institutions that are to receive these students after CSEC. They are not matching industrial principles and existing principles of industrial practices that exist presently to cause that training to match. So I wanted to make those points.
You know, Comrade Jaikaran, while you were talking there, my mind went way out. And I'm now thinking about coming into mind all of these secondary schools that we have, secondary schools with dormitories. I noticed the Ministry of Education flashing a refurbished school dorms. I think it's somewhere in either Region 8 or Region 9, somewhere there. But when we think about these schools with dorms, again, the education sector is failing our children. We don't want to remember the Madhya tragedy. But if we were to look at President's College, while we are flashing and boasting about refurbishing one, what has happened to the several others? We have the dorms of charity there. President's College, flash that and show us what is happening there. St. Ignatius Secondary, Paramakata, is it Paramakata they were showing? You have dorms. Man, it is so very crazy. But the thing is, we have to get to this point where we've got to zero in. Where do we start from? And for me, we must start from the level of appointing education officers. Have you noticed what is happening in our education sector? Anybody is an education officer. We already short of teachers, and we pull in the teachers from schools because they're closely connected to somebody and somebody and somebody. You pull them out of schools and you second them to the Department of Education. While you have them at the Department of Education, the school is short of a unit. Nobody else can fill that space because that unit is already accounted for while they're performing duties somewhere else. And they move off to the department, and they could even function, some of them at their schools, but they put them at the department to perform duties as education officers. More confusion in the system. So the problem is at central ministry. Let's not talk about CPC. That's a whole kettle of fish by itself, where you have a principal, and then you have what is a director they got there, a director. I mean, I don't understand, or an administrator, whoever the person is. Another fancy position was created for another boy or another girl, the boys and the girls. And that's all we keep doing, rather than focusing on educating our teachers and equipping them with the necessary skills so that they can deliver in schools. We creating jobs for the boys and the girls. Just the other day, we created another one, Neela. National Education Leadership Academy. Mind you, we don't have a problem with education expanding. But while we're expanding the scope and we want to pull this in and pull that in for our leaders, the head teachers and deputies and HODs and so on, we have the Cyril Potter College of Education. We have NSERD. What are we doing with these entities? Why can't we not put this unit under CPC, somewhere by CPC, somewhere under NSERD? But again, we're creating a new arm because we have a building that is owned by maybe Sonia or Saddam Hussein or someone of them. And you're going to rent it for big money. So money's for the boys and girls. Then we're going to have an administrator, a director, and deputy director, and all kind of tours we're going to have. And they're running the show there, creating more confusion in the system. So rather than resolving the issues that we're having, we continue to create more confusion. CPC needs a total overhauling. CPC's program needs to be completely restructured if we're going to talk about producing quality teachers and not quantity. If we want the school systems to be fixed, then we have to ensure that the teachers who are going into the classrooms, they are qualified enough to deal with the issues that we have in our schools, to be able to teach. If I'm a math specialist or a language specialist, I must be able to go in the classroom and deliver A1. But what we got math specialists, and then you're telling them, oh, well, when you wrote CXC, you passed geography and you passed this, so you could teach that in another department in the secondary schools. In the primary schools, we're making them all kinds of things. I mean, we've got to change the system. And if we don't change the system, we will see many, many more of what we are seeing happening here. Comrade Sampson, I know you're going to bounce in. And when you're having these kinds of conversation, the time just I don't know where time went, because it's almost 10 to 8. And we've not even yet touched the surface of what we really want to talk about. But Comrade Sampson, I'm going to take you here. We're not hearing you. Your mic is muted, I guess.
With his phone. Oh, God. Not sure what to do. Don't know. Oh, boy. Y'all go ahead, because I did something that I can't find.
We're hearing you.
You're hearing me? Okay, good. I don't know what I touched just now. CPC needing overhaul. Coretta, I'm sure when you were at Teachers Training College, and Dennis too, when you were doing final teaching practice, you don't do one subject, one lesson.
No.
When I was there, you had to do 4 lessons,
Mm-hmm.
especially and I think it was 2 in your major and the other 2 whatever. I understand that now they do 1 lesson for teaching practice because
Wow.
the chief education officer says they are in the system, so they know to teach. So
No
you
wonder
understand
we
what is happening there?
no wonder we have learners who can't recognize letters, they can't read, they can't write because you have teachers in the system. They've been teaching.
Like that. You see, they can't read, the teachers, and they now got problems with reading. That even I think one of the subjects here is teaching of reading. And
Yeah.
I'm sure if you call one Joanna David, who's a specialist in that, Joanna will tell you how much headache she has. Right? So the whole system needs to be revamped. The curriculum is too packed. You see this thing about us having all the children doing 20-something subjects and
Oh, yeah.
running away with the Caribbean exam prizes and so forth. It is not good for the children. It is not good. All work and no play. They say used to make somebody a dull boy, but they need to have some play in it. I understand now physical education is coming back on the timetable. So I don't know who is training them to teach the children physical education. Oh, beautiful Guyana.
But let me say to you, physical education, the president said you must have physical education on Friday afternoons. So we're having physical education on Friday afternoons. The entire school is out. In many of the schools, there is no structured program because there is no specialist PE teacher in the school. So everybody doing their own thing and everybody use Friday afternoon to line. In some other schools, there is no play area, so they have to pack the children in buses to move them to a play field or a ball field, wherever we want to call it, a community center, and then they have to dump them in the bus again and return them to the school. And when they go there, what they do, hands up, hands down, some play cricket, no structured kind of program. And that's what we keep doing all the time, all kinds of craziness. And so when we have a president who can't pronounce words, and can't string words and make a sentence, then what do you expect to have happen? When we have a minister of education, a former minister of education, who doesn't understand and know the parts of speech, what do you expect to happen? When we got a sitting minister of education who will stand at the podium and talk about trying our utmost best, what you expect to happen? So you can't blame the teachers. Stop ministry education. Stop blaming our teachers. Our teachers are not the fault. You are. All them education officers we all take and make fly-by-night education officers, they're the ones who at fault. They're the ones who... And because of what we went through, it angers you to see where we are at this stage. But we cannot continue to do it. We will have to speak out. We will have to encourage many more of our teachers to speak out. We will have to get the parents on board to come and say how they want things to happen so that we can change all this craziness that is happening. The curriculum, you in the primary, look at the nursery schools, you recognize what is happening in the nursery schools. They got the curriculum and consolidated curriculum and all kinds of craziness, confusing the teachers. The education officers themselves don't understand it, confusing the poor teachers. In nursery school, we learned back then, nursery school is play. Nursery school is play, getting to know you, teamwork, learning to share, learning to play with each other. Everything is about play and teamwork. Now the children got to be able to write in the nursery schools. They got to be able to write and do this. And so we have now become an exams-oriented nation where we don't focus any longer on the child being able to learn skills and to adapt and to be able to pronounce words properly, to be able to put words together, to read, to make a sentence, to be able to speak and express themselves. Everything is about 7, 8, 9 subjects a day on the timetable, and it's a rush, 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 rush. 35 minutes, 15 minutes for this, for science, 15 minutes for
Oh,
social
no.
studies, and then the children in understand anything that you're doing, and you jump off to another subject. You jump off to another subject. Where are we going? Where are we going? We've got to turn this system around. Kabrajai Karan.
Yeah, when you are talking about nursery school, don't be surprised based on the structure of the system that very soon we'd have a national exam at the nursery school level. We'd have graduation, we have best graduated student, and all these kinds of things. Trust the system to bring that on. Let me move to this point. We're talking about breaking up the system. On the 2nd of December 2025, this CEO who does not understand the difference between a circular and a letter, but said rather a memo. And this is what they started it, and they are.
What's happened there now?
Yeah, they started it and they are breaking it up. Here what it says. I'm just going to read I'm just going to read the subject. Closure of the secondary competency certificate program, SCCP.
Mm.
The Ministry of Education hereby advises that a secondary competency certificate program, SCCP, will no longer be offered to students at the end of the current academic year, 2025-2026. Standards are falling apart.
Every day, every day.
This is a skills-based program. This is a skills-based program. And I don't think the Deputy Chief Education Officer, I don't know who gave him a doctorate in 2 weeks in India, but he refers to himself as a doctor. A waste of time as a Deputy Chief Education Officer technical. Doesn't know what technical education is all about. And so they are helping to fail the system. And when the system would have failed, our learners are the persons
who suffer,
who are the failures.
You know,
so I just wanted to make this point about the circular.
I just want to say to us,
The memo rather, that is serious though.
I just want to say to us and to remind all of us that LFS Burnham, through his wisdom, established and initiated free education from nursery to university across this country many, many years ago. Who stopped that? It was the PPP. But I see them coming again and talking about university is free and university is free. You stopped it. So if you stopped it, then you had to come again to ensure that it is made free. So don't come and polish these things and get people to believe that you're making university free. University was always free. Under the PNC, we had textbooks at all levels. Under the PNC, we had food feeding programs, not Melju bread, not early morning chana and curry, not sour juice. We had proper breakfast under the PNC. Under the David Granger administration, we had it even then. And during those times, we had no oil monies. Now we have oil monies, but yet our children cannot be given a proper breakfast. You know? There is no structured program in terms of the persons who are delivering these breakfasts, who is supervising them. No structured program. So Cheryl Sampson, she knows the CEO, And she talked to him. She get contract for 2 schools to provide breakfast for 2 schools. Cheryl Sampson never went anywhere. Never went to Carnegie, but she know to cook a little bit and she's a friend. So she get 2 contracts. The same thing we are doing with the contractors for the schools. 1 contractor servicing 8, 9 schools. That is why right now we have schools that are not yet reopened because it's 1 contractor servicing 8, 9 schools. So you can't complete it. This is what we have happening in the system. And you know what? The 3 Fs, those in the 3F group, they're the ones who are benefiting, while the masses of our people continue to suffer. I'm hoping that people will take time off. Viewers, take time off to read the manifesto that was provided to you by the APNU. Compare that with what you're having now. Compare that with what transpired between 2020 and 2025. Compare that with what transpired during 1992 to 2015. And you are going to tell us, or you're going to be honest with yourself to say who is better prepared to run the affairs of this country. We don't want to talk about corruption, because if we talk about corruption right away, Susan comes to mind, Mustafa comes to mind, Irfan Ali comes to mind, Gangster Granny come to mind, all of them come to mind. A while ago we had Dolphin. Now we got properties and vehicles and all kinds of things. I'm saying this to say, we have got to make the difference in this country. We have to return this country to its former glory. And the only way we can do that is by standing up and being bold and speaking out against these issues and taking action. That's the only way we can resolve them. I know that our time has caught up with us, and so I'm going to take our last words from you, our guest. It's a pleasure, and it was a pleasure having you here. We've got to do this again because we've got to talk about what's happening at the university. We've got to talk about what's happening at some of our technical institutes. We've got to delve deeper into what is happening into education, because you know what? Plenty of those boys in the ministry and those girls, they're making big monies off of the tech program. They're making big monies off of when we have the workshop, man, some of the education officers, they become the caterers and so on. They catering the food, they do everything. They're providing the materials, everything. They got big stationery store and so on, providing everything. So it's all about a money-making thing. And the emphasis is not on ensuring that you create a rounded individual to fulfill the needs of our people who are lacking. We can't talk about counselors, guidance counselors, and so on. That's another story by itself. But I'd like to have your last words on the program, that is, for now. Your closing remarks.
It was a pleasure being on your program.
Let me start.
But you want to start? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You started first, you started to end second.
Yes, Coretta, it was a pleasure being on your program. I mean, we have just touched the tip of the iceberg. As you speak about education, it hurts me because I've been in education since way back. But the Ministry of Education, the ones who are looking at the curriculum, the ones who are deciding what the children should do, how many subjects they should do, they should stop and think. The children need breathing space. We need to look at what we are giving them and remember that education is the foundation for anything. Whether you are a minister, the government, whether you are a farmer, whoever, you have to go to school at some point. And you have to have a good education, a good foundation to be a responsible person in your country. As I said, we've just touched the tip of the iceberg. I don't know if I want to come back on the program, but who knows what. You've been asking me for a number of months. I've been shadowing you, but I finally got here. And it was a pleasure being with you and Dennis. And to the viewers, I say, let us hope for a better new year, this 2026, than what we had last year. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome, and thank you.
So let me close by saying that since I'm co-host of this program, I would always be on this program. I want to close with a very general recommendation. And it has to do with from the chief education officer. We take those at the top later on, the minister and the PS. Coming on to the district education officers, we are not saying all are not good persons. But for us to understand better, how is it they can improve their own professional way of doing things. And not only that, since our teachers are bold to speak out, it might be good enough if the Integrity Commission and the Auditor General, that this program has been calling out time and again, can be so bold enough to ensure that the Chief Education Officer and every other officer to those at the Department of Education, the REDO and the entire staff, meaning the district education officers and the school welfare officers, to have them declare their assets truthfully, honestly, and sincerely to the Integrity Commission and let there be an investigation. If we don't start at that point, we are not going to start getting the honesty and sincerity in this system. But as I said, I would be on this program continuously. And continuously, I would be calling out the Auditor General. I'm going to call out the Integrity Commission. And I'm going to call out the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Regional Development, Local Government and Regional Development, the Ministry of Health, and all the regional democratic councils across this region. So that is to give notice as to what is going to happen for the rest of the year as I take my place on this program and as I take my leave from this program tonight. Thank you very much.
Comrade Jaikaran, it's always a pleasure to have you. And I too want to join with you and Comrade Sampson to say, we have to make a change. And this year should be the year when we will make that change. Together we are going to do it. You see, the PPP, they feel that they know so much that they don't want to join hands. They don't want to accept suggestions. It must be all about them and all those big consultants that they bring from Australia and all over the place, you know, where they can get a drawback from to come and tell you what you know here already. We have qualified persons here. We have people who are equipped with the knowledge here. We have the people who understand the culture here, who understand what is happening in our societies to make the changes that we want to have in our education sector. All we have to do is to be willing to open our hands and extend that olive branch. And you're going to see how many educators will answer the call. As we speak, you know how many of our head teachers are opting for early retirement because they can't deal with the system anymore. Many of them are opting for early retirement. Many of our senior masters and mistresses are opting for early retirement. Why are they running from the system? Why are they running from a profession that they love? Because they can't deal with what is happening in this system. We have got to move from the level of being just at the feet of the table to sitting on the table. We've got to move there. And we can only do that through genuine consultations, through genuine love for people, and through a heart that cares for people and through individuals who want to see things change. Viewers, we want to thank you so much for being here with us. But before I go, I want to say to you, remember, we are Guyanese. All of us are Guyanese, and we all have a part to play in this country. Wherever we live, we all have a part to play. And I want to remind the authorities, President's College was created as the school of excellence. You see where you have it now? Please, let's move President's College to where it ought to be. Those who attended President's College, and I'm hoping that the Minister of Education is listening to me, or somebody must tell her, because she was a student at President's College. She enjoyed horseback riding, she enjoyed swimming and everything else. That has made her somewhat a rounded person. Allow the children who are attending President's College to enjoy that. You go there, check the dorms at President's College. You look at what's happening in the field. President's College fed itself. And I remember one of our comrades was saying to me that after the first 2 years of the establishment of President's College, that college was able to return to the government $14 million. We get the Barbies Bridge, ask them how much they return to the government. We got this Demerara Barrett Sue Jagdio, Demerara Bridge. Ask them how much they will return to the coffers. We got so many other entities that took monies from the coffers. Ask them if they ever return anything. President's College was able to return $14 million, and the records are there. Go and check it. So viewers, we've just touched the tip of the iceberg of education in crisis. We will continue on that trend for the rest of this month, because we have to change things. Our children must be respectful. Our educators must be respectful, and they must be equipped with the necessary skills to deliver in our classrooms. Do stay safe on our roads. And remember, whatever happened, we are all Guyanese. One people, one nation, one destiny. May God bless us all.